Hello, dear Americans, Fox News and Mr. Hannity and Trey Gowdy. Through administrations, different like James Comey and former director of the FBI, they have ongoing predicate acts with Wethersfield police refusing to identify themselves, involved with credible threats and predicate acts against me with a whole bunch of people from other areas on my street, tied to the retired mayors from Wethersfield and different cities and their family members in conjunctions to themselves too. And more World Trade Center attack, predicate acts. Westfield police faked conversations with me at the police station that weren't at all when I was a kid and then I was an adult. Identity theft, fraud, slanders. They're refusing to identify some Mendez police brothers. These are also people with differences, racketeering, pretending passions and emotions. They're using for sequence shifts and cover-ups, how they've been using the state of Connecticut judicial branch offices and corrections offices. They have collusion/S, where a breaching method uses names on all sides of criminal and civil cases, the lawyers, conjunctions to them, their sources, and the same thing with the interbranch and intelligence tied to them in news. At the same time, with the same sequence shifts, predicate acts, including World Trade Center ones. Increasingly, people involved with the World Trade Center, with our side and other sides, including the Saudi attackers, as reported. I'm using other methods because Saudis, before and after the World Trade Center attack, WFSB, Connecticut's Channel 3 News, attached me to fake conversations with themselves and fake ties between themselves and others with the police forms and interbranch and their family members while they were forcing a principal child abuser. Attached me to fake conversations with about the World Trade Center attack. So Trey Gowdy is vastly wrong about readings of statutes of precedent. I'm not even a lawyer. You have to get them onto paper into branch. They've been changing and faking digital evidences with whiting forensics, increasingly involved with child abusers, leaders, and kids years apart, first forced, and that was proven. And now there are more. Even more is recorded then and now. They have their kids involved with it. These are child abusers around the interbranch kids, the intelligence, foreign and domestic. They have rules of differences, rackets. They're making confessions while pretending other. Oh, then bring it before the court. The courts are criminally involved. That's all recorded too. They've been trying to plant evidences, say fake things into records. Oh, but that's it. I was saying that because that's what. In other words, they never had retired Wethersfield police chiefs, multiple, involved with the same house/S with their intimate ties to their families too, with all kinds of drugs and medicines, crimes, collusions, all fake transcripts. Harvard Hospital has a bunch of people with foreign and domestic military, some C.I.A. themed, KKK themed, Confederate flag themed, people involved with digital crimes and whiting forensics, state police families, interstates, involved with time collusions with overt criminal enterprises, private ones, family members of family that work that I never had a conversation with at campuses. They're putting fake things in databases, collusion/S, and then acting tied to it. They're refusing writing because they've been collusion/S. Increasingly, a bunch of people from Wethersfield have connections inter and intra-campuses, intercities, and intra-cities, and with names next to the campuses, intercities and intra-cities, as ones involved with the World Trade Center attack, and remote uses of the sense and sensibilities of the judicial branch officers' names and their family members, and the differences of guilt there or next to them or conjunctions to that, like Wethersfield Pizza House has wire crime acts and methods where they've been planting fake transcripts, identity theft, fraud, slanders. Increasingly, people associated with the Stephen Stockwell have roles with child abusers, leaders of kids years apart, involved with wire crime acts and roles, identity theft, fraud, slanders, collusions, at the same time to force such as other natures of organized crimes juxtaposed here. A bunch of people with the F.B.I. Director Robert Luskin have a Stephen Stockwell intercities with involved with campuses I went, with identity theft, fraud, slanders, with the same house/S, with multiple police departments, personally and professionally involved with them, switching names, forging names, trying to see a search to plant, make another fake instance. They make fake instances to cover up what I caught them when there was a real instance. Yeah, and they won't get on paper. That's on a mass scale. They pretend they're about shaming. A Leahy family is one of the ones that faked conversations with me too. They have their daughter on Facebook involved with a Brian Silver with the Connecticut's District Court and Connecticut's New Britain Superior Court. A bunch of people with the family members of New Britain Superior Court and Hartford courts and their intimate ties have timed collusions intercities and intra-cities, inter-campuses and intra-campuses. All kinds of federal evidences crimes with former director of the F.B.I, Robert Luskin, identity theft, fraud, slanders at Trinity College and next to it. Increasingly, there's a Darth Vader who is one of the police forms involved, and people from next to the campuses, intercities in New Britain and Hartford, who have a whole bunch of people who planted fake ties, fake natures of ties to me on my street. Then there were time uses of that years later, as there roles with the falsified police reports, with the ones that have people from other areas tied to the home break-ins in my area, and there are roles with it. And they're pretending past. They want to pretend things are about what is now. They're at the cover. They already have what's actually recorded. There are means to discern how a breaching method used them in their roles with all sides of criminal and civil cases in the interbranch planting sequence shifts at the same time, same sequence shifts, and with the news to prevent the right outcome /S. And per the breaching method has function /S by everyone collusion /S with its breaching method. Everyone has methods. Pretending other. We're supposed to get the Constitution unabridged. You guys are trying to plant fake motives too, screening of how a bunch of countries. Kids from my school will tell you this. They're only repeating fake things that other people that will be discovered. Increasingly, people tied to a gold family have roles with foreign and domestic intelligence agencies, foreign and domestic military, involved with identity theft, fraud, slanders, all kinds of differences, rackets, pretending passions and emotions about their religions to make it look like they know people. In other words, increasingly too, as people who planted from other areas, evidence on all sides of my house and all sides of their house. As people who have collusions with the campuses that are covering that up. It's a method they have collusions with that don't even understand it, even the F.B.I. directors. And then when I, we can observe it, and then they're going to understand it. So, but please get them on paper, one name and sequence. Get me off the fake conversations with WFSB. They have ongoing World Trade Center collusion with a whole bunch of different countries and more child abusers, leaders of the kids, years apart. With those families had collusions with other methods and natures of organized crimes at the same time. And more we are involved with that now. It's also their roles at the state corrections offices next to it or conjunctive to it. And the same three ways manifest with the judicial branch offices relative to how it uses collusion /S with all sides of the case, the interbranch and the intelligence at the same time, collusion /S with foreign bodies. That's why they have self-guided rules countering fentanyl with collusions. They have collusion, a whole bunch of fire departments, family members too, run into Hartford Hospital to highlight progressions. And as collusions with wire crime action methods and relative delusions. They have all kinds of drugs and medicines crimes associated with the interbranch and the intelligence tied to them. And then further organized crime acts and roles with the families with the state judicial branch offices and the corrections offices. One of the people further with the F.B.I. directors with sexual and medical offenders of kids, identity, other natures of organized crime, have more educators of the kids. One of them confessed the name Lance Cuddy involved. And I never had a conversation with him in my life. These are people with the F.B.I. director, Robert Luskin, his lawyer, Robert Chevalier, and their co-defendants and their family members involved intercities, planting evidences so people can bring things before courts. They need to hide, pretend that they believe things or discern things that aren't true. Like there are people, why and how I ended up at a Lena's Pizza and some wedding. And they switched the name with a Magdalena, a Maggie. These are people with the intelligence families, a whole bunch of people with Gail King and Trey Gowdy, with other prosecutors like Brian Silver is increasingly involved with sexual and medical offenders of kids, with judges and prosecutors, and with people on all sides of Central Connecticut State University in New Britain, Connecticut, increasingly involved with predicate acts on my street, and their roles with people next to the Hartford Hospital. A whole bunch of people from Hartford Hospital They have roles with campuses, intercities, including child campuses, and their roles with families associated with and as the proven child abusers' kids and more leader forced. These are people too, sickly, distinctly, with them putting fake things in databases and acting tied to it. And the difference of guilt there or the names next to the campuses, or just temporary, like WTNH has an O'Neill family that is recorded, confessed, demonstrated, confirmed with their kids involved with identity theft, fraud, slanders, with sexual and medical offenders of kids. Their roles in whiting forensics with state police families involved with foreign countries, all kinds of medicines crimes, all kinds of forensics crimes, with a Joshua Stryker too on Facebook pages of Interbranch and of a Highcrest School, with a principal being upskirt nature, with some black KKK, a better flag theme, Latino theme, and the people with Hartford Hospital associated with the Joshua Julian. They have their little kid. Leahy family's got their little daughter involved with them, fake transcripts of me, and fake conversations about legal cases they have personally and professionally involved with federal criminals in a case, including ones tied to and as co-defendants, a former director of the F.B.I. in a 2006 district court case. Increasingly collusions with intelligence at Fox Connecticut News and or the names next to them, which is next to the state capital of Connecticut. Increasingly, Chet Casper too, and people with the name Casper and tied to them have roles with identity theft, fraud, slanders. I never even saw them around schools. You know, in other words, one time I saw them from to verify all along Route 175 and conjunctions to it like Ridge Road. Increasingly retired Wethersfield police chiefs have roles with sexual and medical offenders of kids, overt criminal enterprises, and private ones. We're going to pay attention to the organized crimes of the people at the same time. Collusions with the judicial branch and corrections offices with falsified police reports, interbranch switching names, switching sequences, refusing writing. They have Judge Napolitano Sense and Sensibilities played with this, showing them faked and changed digital evidences, whiting forensics. Get them on paper, one name and sequence. They also have people involved with increasingly with this Gold family, planting evidence at parks and next to them with Parks and Recs, with more drugs and medicines crimes with the kids, involved with the people supposed to be against it, pretending they're about their roles with caring about unmarked police forms. They're giving it up. In other words, Ray Cololo will confess this. His role is also recorded with people with Newington Police Department, Wethersfield Police Department, Rock Hill Police Department. His friend said that with their roles with Cromwell and next to the child campuses, and his people involved with home breakers who also have roles with rape threats and confessions, and through the time connected too. They make such to strangers, and then they pretend that they know you. Like a John DeMoro is increasingly involved with a Joe DeMoro too, with confessions of his roles with sexual and medical offenders of kids, and overt criminal enterprises and private ones of people on Church Street in Old Wethersfield, involved with him with a Mr. Abruzzi, and people at Central Connecticut State University in New Britain, Connecticut, recorded, confessed, demonstrated, confirmed. Kids when I was from Wethersfield when I was a kid and then as an adult, they have an Abruzzi family involved with intelligence agencies, and Clinton people with the DeMoro family, like, and people on Valley Crest and conjunctions to it involved with identity theft, fraud, slanders with them, falsified police reports, sequence shifts, identity theft, fraud, slanders, fake motivations screening because they have these are ones involved with Saudi attackers. Wethersfield Police has Mendez Police also involved directly and indirectly with people recorded, confessed, demonstrated from them involved with people named Scalora. And Wethersfield Police said that too at my house. And then I walk away. Then make it look like I had a conversation. Before one guy forced himself through my door. Won't identify those people. These are people that are putting fake transcripts when they on their records or when they go to instances. The fire departments too. So you need to get them on paper, one name and sequence. Mr. Gowdy, Fox News. Please get me off the fake conversations at the same time that WFSB pretended with the sources of Fox News, but it's the net intelligence app and the differences of the guilt manifest that way. as the intelligence at the networks are next to them, and exceptions, because that's used too, where they play stupid, where they pretend not to realize. Recorded is what the breaching method shows them. The names of the people, the sciences. Forgiveness is relative to how they never had a chance to. How about you guys have to replace with James Madison, which is the only founder we know the name of specifically. You guys have replaced what he had declassified for himself and for us to understand about things that are not debatable, that you guys have pretended to, that are debatable, tied to this. We're going to examine, too, the people involved with Sandy Hook campuses, including a prison there, increasingly have roles with sexual and medical offenders of kids and tactically delusions are all kinds of drugs and medicines and other natures of organized crimes. Also with these people named O'Neill through wars, collusions, including you guys have replaced how James Madison's plan forced the Civil War. And you guys have replaced how James Madison declassified how and why they wanted nothing to do with slavery, torture, and extortion of everyone, including themselves. They wanted that explained. You guys have it replaced. You guys are using everyone's words, leaving out what they declassified about why and how no one had free speech. Everyone had to pretend other to an extent. Otherwise, they would have been censored through our own by the breaching method. That's discernible. But you guys can't be honest about the first part. You won't allow honesty about the extortion of George Washington because it brings up or shows that everyone has been fake integrity. The names of the people, the sciences. I'm not a lawyer. I don't have to be. Fixate.